Hi, this video is a step-by-step tutorial how to make the skirt holly. These instructions are understandable even without sound. For more patterns with video instructions, visit my website GettingLoosey.com. This video is divided into chapters, so you can just jump to the desired topics. Cut the flounces 2 times on fold. If your fabric is not large enough, simply add seam allowances at the fold line and cut out 4 pieces per flounce. Cut out the front skirt 1 time on fold from fabric and 1 time on fold from lining. If you have chosen an opaque fabric, you don't need a lining skirt. Cut out the back skirt 2 times from fabric and 2 times from lining. Cut out the back waistband 2 times from fabric and 4 times from lining. I have already interfaced 2 of the lining pieces with Vilene G700 and basted them to the fabric parts. If you have an opaque fabric, you can interface directly the fabric pieces. Do the same with the front waistband pieces. How many pieces you need to cut out of which fabric is indicated on each pattern piece. It's more precisely than you see in the video. I have adjusted it after finishing this video. Let's start with the flounces. Sew the 2 parts of flounce 3 together. I do this with a French seam. This looks nicer if you use transparent fabric. For a French seam, sew the pieces wrong sides together. Stitch with 5 mm or 3/16 of an inch seam allowance. Do the same with the parts of flounce 1 and 2. Press the seam allowances open, then sew the parts right sides together. Once the flounces are ready, you can hem them first. With fabrics like chiffon, it has worked for me to sew a seam 5 mm or 3/16 of an inch away from the edge. Along the seam, I fold the fabric 2 times towards the inside and top stitch it from the right side. Now join the flounces. Place flounce 3 with the right side facing up on a flat surface. Place flounce 2 on flounce 3 also with the right side facing up. The seams and notches should match. Then place flounce 1 on the top, right side facing up, matching seams and notches. sew all 3 flounces together within the seam allowance. Continue with the skirt. Sew the fabric back pieces to the front piece. And again, I do this with a French seam. First wrong sides together, then right sides together, as with the flounces. The lining pieces I sew right sides together. Now sew the back seam of the lining skirt right sides together. Baste from the top with the largest possible stitch you have. At the notch, change the stitch length to standard and stitch 1 or 2 times back and forth. Then sew the remaining seam together. Now the fabric skirt. Sew the back seam from the notch down, wrong sides together, with 5 mm or 3/16 of an inch seam allowance. Press the seam allowances open and sew them right sides together, again from the notch down. Make a small cut at the beginning of the seam, then stitch the upper part right sides together with large basting stitches. Press the seam allowances open on both skirts. Then unpick the basting seams. Of course, it's not necessary basting and then unpicking the seams, but in my opinion you get a more accurate edge and a neater result this way. Place the fabric skirt with the wrong side to the right side of the lining skirt. Sew both skirts together at the top edge within the seam allowance. With the edge of the back seam still open, I basted fabric and lining together. It's optional, but easier for the further steps. Before attaching the zipper, we need to sew the waistband to the skirt. Sew the fabric back waistband pieces right sides together to the front waistband piece. Do the same with the lining pieces. Then sew both waistbands right sides together at the top edge. Understitch the lining waistband along the edge to the seam allowance. To make the waistband lie flatter, I cut small triangles into the seam allowance. You can also just make small cuts, but you shouldn't skip this step, otherwise the waistband will not lie nicely. Press the waistband. The lining part shouldn't be visible from the right side. Pin the fabric waistband to the skirt facing right sides. Make sure that the seams match. Cut the seam allowances as shown. Instead of the triangles, you can just make small cuts. Now it's time to sew the zipper. I use a concealed zipper and sew it with a special foot, but it also works as a standard zipper foot. Before stitching, I recommend you to fix the zipper on both skirt edges with basting stitches, so nothing can slip around. If you have a longer zipper, like me, shorten it at this point. To make the skirt look neat on the inside, I finish the seam allowances with bias tape. This is optional. You can also serge them or sew with zigzag stitches over them. What I forgot here is to finish the cut edge of the zipper. You should do that before you sew on the bias tape. If you decide to use my method, cut 2 fabric strips on the bias about 15 mm or 5/8 of an inch wide. Sew them onto the zipper and the seam allowance with the right side facing the zipper. Then fold the strips over the seam allowance and sew along the edge as shown. You can also stitch in the ditch, whichever you prefer. Now fold the lining waistband over the seam as shown. I sew it by hand because I like the result more. Of course, you can also stitch in the ditch from the right side. If you make small cuts into the seam allowance of the lining waistband, it will lie more evenly. To hem the lining skirt, fold the hem 2 times 1 cm or 3/8 of an inch inward and top stitch from the right side. And now the time has come to sew the flounces to the skirt. Pin the flounces to the skirt hem right sides together. Let the hem overlap by 2 cm or 3/4 of an inch. Make sure that the seams and notches match. Sew them together. Fold the overlapping skirt hem over the seam allowances as shown and sew it in place. This gives you a neatly finished seam allowance. Then press the seam allowance towards the flounces. You've done it! Skirt Holly is ready now! If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. For more sewing patterns with video instructions, visit my website GettingLoosey.com.